kukola kwa bantu Kazama yuti bonse batinda be abakulu n'abaana Bonse bashitata n'abaana mayo banelirawe Mwamba Kazama ile fire iwe wile webo weshi Mwamba Leader experience Olakane wabomba Mwamba Emmanuel Bonse bakasama Bale fire Mwamba Emmanuel Bakasama bakulira Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Chupani ni PF Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Wakuito mwele Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka Emmanuel Tule fire Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka Emmanuel Olakane wabomba Mwamba Emmanuel Bonse bakasama Bale fire Mwamba Emmanuel Bakasama bakulira Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Chupani ni PF Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Wakuito mwele Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka Emmanuel Tule fire Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka Emmanuel Bakasama bakulira Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka Emmanuel Emmanuel Mwamba Masaka.
Ladies and gentlemen, see on the beat.
Good day. A picture has gone viral of two heads of states. President Felix Tshisekedi on the left hand, President Hakainde Hichilema on the right. And they're standing like head boys over two of their foreign ministers. Christophe Lutundula on the left hand, Stanley Kakubo on the right. But what is strange about this picture is the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is supervising a signing ceremony. And the picture has gone viral on allegations that Zambia and DRC have signed away their mineral agreements and to the United States of America. I thought that this is a very important matter which we should discuss because it has various elements that we are concerned about that come together and that just is described in this picture. President Hakainde Hichilema was among 49 heads of states that were in Washington. The meeting was the US Africa Leaders Summit. This is the second one. The first one was held in 2014. This meeting is being held under the shadow of China's influence on Africa, and the US have been very, very concerned. If you look at the statistics, they favor China. China's trade with Africa is over $250 billion compared to the US's trade, which is just about $21 billion. China's support to Africa in form of grants is also far higher. And China's commercial projects in Africa, especially those that were driven by the Roads and Belt initiatives from 2013, are far bigger than EU or the US. China has built stadiums, roads, bridges, harbors, airports, schools in Africa. And there's been this concern by these global superpowers. You know, they want to have a foothold on Africa. But why Africa? Africa is the future of the world. Africa holds up to 2/3 of raw materials required to develop the world. So there is a scramble for Africa, the second scramble for Africa. And the US do not want to be left out. So they held the first US Africa Leadership Summit in 2014. This was the second one that President Joe Biden was hosting. What are the outcomes of these meetings? Well, you know, Africa already has, under the African Union, already has the Agenda 2063. And the African Union has structured its partnership. It recognizes there is a scramble for Africa. And what it has done is that it has crafted the Agenda 2063, in which it outlines support it may require and partnerships it may require for any party to work with Africa. So there's been a relationship with China. You know, FOCAC, the program with the Chinese government that has been running since 2000. There's one with India, there's one with Japan, there's one with Turkey. And the US didn't want to be left out of this scramble. And so the government of President Biden and Kamala Harris have pledged about $55 billion to Africa over a period of 3 years. $21 billion will go to support the IMF for low and middle income countries to access recovery programs, especially after the COVID-19 crisis, to promote resilience with climate change programs, to promote global health security. So there are these programs that the Biden government, besides the support through the IMF, that they at bilateral level will support. So there's a peace and security program. There's a health program to support health workers and health security. There's a program on communities, direct communities, civil society communities, and the program was structured this way. The first day, they dealt with civil society and the diaspora communities that are in the US, African diaspora communities. The second day was the US Africa business meeting. This is where you saw President Hakainde Hichilema announce that development and investment of $150 million for a mine that will be developed in Chirilabombwe. The third day was then the high-level meeting between President Biden and the heads of states, and then there was dinner, photo shoots, and high-level dialogue, especially for countries that will go for elections in 2023. Why are we concerned with the signing agreement? The matter we started with. The resources that Zambia and DRC have are for the benefit of the world. There should be no exclusionary tactics where we lock out China, we lock out France, we lock out Russia. We will be creating big problems for ourselves. Is the program important? First of all, I'd like to appreciate both President Tshisekedi and President Hakainde Hichilema for this innovation. The attempt to bring the value chain for the electric vehicle industry in Zambia is remarkable. When they say EV battery chain, what does it mean? It means that we extract the cobalt and copper that is required, and remember, the DRC supplies up to 70% of cobalt to the global market. Zambia is 6th largest producer of copper, so we have a say there. Then you begin to produce cells that then go into the making of the batteries. So you have to set up, after you've extracted, you produce the cobalt and copper, you process it, then it's fed to the production of cells that are required in the actual batteries. The leading global company at the moment is a Chinese company called CATL, Contemporary Amperage limited company of China. It's the single largest electric vehicle battery manufacturer. It's the single largest supplier to the EV market. It has customers from Tesla, BMW, Honda, Kia, name everyone who manufactures or who's manufacturing electric vehicles. They'll buy their their batteries from Catley, a company from China. It's the largest. So you can see the interest of the US. Here is battery storage technology, battery manufacturing, and battery systems for electric vehicles that is dominated by China through this company. The US wants energy security. The US wants to be self-sufficient in everything they've done. So President Hakainde Hichilema should be more careful when you are put and placed at the center of superpowers. Our role is to take what Dr. Kaunda did. Dr. Kaunda had a simple formula, a non-aligned policy, and we're members of the non-aligned movement. So we're never caught up with the crisis of Russia, crisis of China, crisis of the US. We actually benefited from them. We leveraged our relationship so well that Dr. Kaunda was welcome at the White House in the US in Washington, that Dr. Kaunda was welcome in Moscow, that Dr. Kaunda was welcome in Peking. We were never forced to choose between the major superpowers. So President Hakainde Hichilema has been pushed to a corner where they are signing this MOU agreement that places Zambia first to the ridicule of Africa, and it might raise suspicion with China and Russia. If you look at how we have benefited from the three major countries in the world, China built Tazara. It has recently built our infrastructure development. Russia provided our armed and defense forces with technology and equipment. The US, other than the support they give us in the health sector, they've also been very instrumental, especially in the energy sector. Remember, Kariba Dam was built by IMF World Bank support, supported by the US. So we've benefited from these relationships. Our concern is President Hakainde Hichilema. He should not, at all cost, at any time, align so heavily to one entity that it brings suspicion to the other. We do not want to be caught up in the crosshairs of their fights and their global interest. From my perspective as a diplomat, this meeting was important. For the African Union, we recognized that Africa is the future, and we need, not the way it was when Berlin Conference divided Africa into those countries that were done in 1884. Africa had no say. So we've said we should have a say. But how do we have a say? Is that we should shepherd our relationship. So we have a relationship with China under the FOCAC, with India, with Turkey, with Russia, Africa, US, Russia summit. We have a relationship with the US, like I was saying. This is a second meeting. There's nothing wrong with the meeting, but you have to be tactful. You have to ensure that you are promoting your country and Africa's interest first. This meeting, from the perspective of President Hakainde Hichilema, and especially the rhetoric that rose after that senator who sits on the Foreign Committee tweeted and said President Hakainde Hichilema is helping fight the predatory relationship that Africa has with China. No, President Hakainde Hichilema should not be used as a pawn for their fight. Not at all. The two should be separate. Our relationship should be mutual, should be cooperation, should be shoulder to shoulder. There is no junior master relationship here. We're a sovereign nation, and they should respect our interest. And for Africa, they need to treat Africa as it is. That's why we've been promoting the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It makes Africa the 5th largest economy in the world, because you'll have 1.3 billion people with a GDP of over $3.4 trillion. So if the Africa Continental Free Trade Area works, if the free movement of people and goods work, it's going to place Africa as the 5th largest economy in the world. And like I stated, Africa is going to be supplier of all raw materials, whether it's cobalt, copper, lithium, or any other material that the world needs to develop. Africa is at the center of it, so we should take charge of our destiny. And my question as I wind up was, why is the president signing another agreement where they are looking like they are two schoolboys being brought together by a master called the US? Why are they signing a second agreement? Because the president invited his colleague for a state visit in April. Zambians must remember that we hosted President Felix Tshilombo Tshisekedi in April 2022. A signing agreement was held for the EV battery manufacturing value chain. You saw our Minister of Finance, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, on one side. You saw the Trades Minister. You saw the Foreign Affairs Minister and their counterparts sign this agreement. Why are we being paraded before the world when this was our initiatives? Or was it join in for our next session, where I will discuss now the relationship of the mining sector in relation to the UPND and the New Dawn government, and how they are turning us into puppets to push their agenda. Compliments of the season, happy festive season. God bless you, God bless our country, and God bless Zambia.
Kazama yuti bonse batinda be abakulu n'abana bonse bashitata n'abana mayo banerira we mwamba kazama ile fire iwe wile we boeshi mwamba Lika experience alakane we mwamba Emmanuel bonse bakazama bale fire mwamba Emmanuel bakazama bakulira tule fire mwamba we Emmanuel chupani ni PF tule fire mwamba we Emmanuel Mwamba Emmanuel, bonse bakasama, bale fwaya Mwamba Emmanuel.